We are really fortunate to have a prolific speaker, a wonderful educator, and a renowned doctor as a first speaker for the day today. Please put your hands together for Professor Dr. Mahesh Karandikar. He is a communicator. I mean, he likes to communicate through every possible channel. He is an author. He has authored book, an award-winning book on brain as well as spine. He is somebody who goes and attends and sort of speaks at various international conferences, whether it's at Paris or US or Seoul, wherever it is, he goes and attends and talks to them. He is somebody who's been teaching students at undergraduate and postgraduate level. He's also been contributing various research-based the articles into medical journals, and what is not there on the screen, and that's how we could get in touch with him, is he's a very famous YouTuber. One of his, I mean, there are several YouTube talks that, Doctor, we have heard, and that's where we were thoroughly impressed, and we said, yes, we must have Dr. Karandikar with us to enlighten all of us about this particular thing. Of course, he is an active member of various national and international medical organizations. What we are going to understand and learn from you, Doctor, over the next 40-45 minutes is how do we engineer a brain to accept, to stand up to all the supply chain challenges that are coming up. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. I really appreciate the efforts put in by the managing committee of IIMM for this event. And I am thankful to Surendraji for his kind words of introduction. When I just exchanged cards with Vermaji just now, he was taken aback with a shock. Neurosurgeon, what a neurosurgeon is doing on this platform. Friends, many of you would think about this. But the idea is whether we can engineer, redesign, or reconstruct our own brain. The next question comes to the mind as to what is the need? And is it possible to do this? And what is the outcome? Yes. The answer is definitely yes. We can re-engineer and redesign. And the only aim is to make oneself a better individual. Because better individuals would make better managers would make the organization better, and finally it would contribute to the nation building. I am aware that the theme of this conference is supply chain management, and a lot of people are from supply chain. So trying to, correlate your scenario with the scenario in our own brain, let me put down some basic facts. Like in supply chain, you have procurement, then processing, manufacturing, and distributing to your customers. We have one afferent limb in the neuronal circuit. We see, we hear something, and all those inputs are procured by the brain. Integration occurs in the brain, and accordingly, the instructions to various muscle groups or expression are given to the efferent limb. So there is an afferent limb, processor unit, and efferent limb. This is very, very important. There are many construct similarities, and as we would progress, we'll see how important to highlight this point is. Another thing, like for rapid delivery, there is lot of importance in supply chain management about efficient delivery. One example is the Western Dedicated Freight Corridor, which has enabled rapid delivery of huge amount of milk which is produced in Gujarat directly to Delhi NCR. Similarly, friends, in brain, we have mesolimbic dopaminergic pathways. Usually, any experiences which we have go in our immediate memory. There are different depots in brain, immediate memory is a different depot. That information, that memory is processed and it goes to intermediate memory. It takes weeks, and from intermediate memory it goes to permanent memory. But in brain also, there are some direct corridors, for conveyance. For example, there is something called as the reward center in brain. And if the reward center is stimulated, then the immediate memory and the intermediate memory is bypassed. And whatever reward information is there goes directly to permanent memory. You would never forget when you are rewarded in your lifetime. It doesn't need any processing. It's a direct bypass. It's a direct corridor. So the application here is you should always, have your recognition of managers or employees. These sessions should be coupled with training sessions, because you open up this direct freight corridors, and whatever you teach directly goes to the permanent memory with better outcomes. But for this, you should have an optimal brain function, a comfortable brain, a non-stressed brain, a non-depressed brain. And this shows very clearly that if the brain is depressed or stressed, then only this much brain is active when you are working. This is the comparison. This is the normal optimal functioning of the brain, and this is the suboptimal functioning. So if the brain is stressed, then it's a mismanaged brain. A mismanaged brain leads to suboptimal functioning, which obviously leads to lesser output. And fundamentally, any organization, the hiring of manager is hiring of his brain. So if that brain is suboptimal, then naturally the output of any organization would reduce. And the goal of today's lecture is first to know how serious the problem is. And second part will be what is the remedy, how to re-engineer and how to recircuit your brain. Let us first quickly understand how grave the problem is. The Harvard Business School Review publication says that more than 50% of the managers have burnt out feeling. And this is a study published just a few months ago by Don and Katie. Let us see what the situation in Indian managers is sector-wise. Have a look at this. Not more than 40 to 50% managers are happy. And I'm talking about the subconscious level. I mean, if you just interrogate managers, are you happy, you're not happy, everybody would say, or I would say that everybody would like to project that they are happy. But in the subconscious, this is the reality statistics. Automobile industry 45%, aviation 38%, and so on. And why managers? What's the scenario in the whole country? India, in the United Nations publication of World Happiness Report this year, stands the ranking of 126 out of 146 countries participated. And India, the nation who has been giving the message to the world, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya. And this is the reality. What is the reason? What are the problems? And what are the possible solutions? Let's focus on supply chain managers. See, this is what is happening when you have huge expectations in supply chain. Financial constraints are there, you have cost competitiveness, you have administrative issues, you have conflicts coming up, you have big expectations about quick delivery without understanding the logistic limitations. Then you have pressure to have innovation all the time. What happens at the other end of your life? What's happening in your family? What demands do they have? There are social circles which also demand you. What happens to the emotional state? An emotional derailment leads to outcome inefficiency. Not only outcome inefficiency, what happens to your own health? This is the result. Huge number of managers having diabetes, hypertension, myocardial infarct or heart attacks, dementias, Parkinson's, bowel disturbances, very young strokes we see in middle management people. Suddenly while working, he has paralysis of one side of the body. Sudden cardiac death statistics is also very dangerously increasing. The person suddenly collapses and dies. This is a very different category than, heart attack. This is a disturbance in the electric circuit of the heart. There are psychiatry problems, there are irritable behaviors with disruption in family relationship and so on and so forth. This is a huge spectrum. So, can something be done? Yes. The good news is, the brain networks that implement, positivity are flexible and definitely modifiable. There is a big publication in Forbes 2018 which say, creating brain agility by rewiring your brain. It's very much possible. And a positive mindset not only repairs but also expands higher brain networks, enabling us a very, very positive outcome on our family front, emotional front, and organizational front. There are about 200 plus scientific studies. The famous one is called APA 2005. For those of you, you want to get into more details, because this is a big topic and my aim is to, touch as many areas as I can. So in nutshell, this is the result. In 2005, the publication says that people are 31% more productive, 3 times more creative, and a positive mindset can increase sales up to 37%. This Danner study published in 2001 talks about the effects on supportive relationship, and multiply the difference by 1,000 and you get how much the organization suffers. I'm aware that I'm talking on a non-medical platform, and I would try to avoid technical terms and words and make it as legible as possible for you. But one important point which I want to make through this technical slide is to make you understand what is allostasis. See, fundamentally, like if you have tremendous increase in demands, you get more orders, then your production machinery is strained. Similarly, the brain cell, if there is more expectation as far as the output is concerned, the brain cell as a machinery has strain on various ribosomes and other organelles within the cell. But if it is for a small period of time, then it is very easily possible that this disrupted machinery comes back to normal. If it occurs beyond the ability of this reparative machinery, then that energy consumption cannot be matched with the resources, and there are damages to cellular organelles. And if this keeps happening every day, every now and then this is what is called as allostatic load. This is a physiological variation by a simple mismatch between the energy requirement and the input. This is when there is a tremendous disruption. Here it is disrupted, and with some rest or reparative process it can come back to normal. And here is a situation where there is genesis of disease process beginning. So to prevent diseases, we should be, take steps in time. There is a very interesting paper on allostatic load about defining the mission purpose of life. We have mission statements for most of the corporate groups, but what about mission statement of your own living, your own life? We do financial audits, we do audits of business growth promotion. What about your own emotional audit? What about your relationship audit? These things, if you have well-defined clarity in all these concepts, then 10 years down the line, the load is affected. So how essential it is to plan well in advance, because the entire machinery of brain and nerve cells are beautifully designed by the divine, which is much beyond our human design. But we disrupt those machineries. We have neuronal assembly lines, like you have industry assembly lines. There are worn out protein spheres. See, they are being replaced and upgraded by the newer vibrant protein spheres. The brain recycling system, there is neuronal renewal, essential for maintaining the effective neural communication and optimizing your cognitive abilities. This function is only possible if the neurochemical balance in the brain is optimized. And the divine has given us a beautiful neurochemical balance. See, when one nerve cell is connected to other nerve cell, it is connected to third nerve cell, and so on. There is a series of sequentially arranged neurons, like you have assembly lines. The connectivity or the communication between these various neurons are through chemicals called neurotransmitters. And the disrupted balance between the neurotransmitters is the key for illnesses, all kinds of illnesses. That's what I'm coming to. And what disturbs the balance? We keep stressing up things. And do we have any solution? Do we give rest for the reparative processes? The whole goal of development in science and technology, yesterday Ganeshji told me that there's a very interesting session on innovation last evening. But what about the innovation on your own core, your own front? We have done huge amount of development in robotics, artificial intelligence, lots of instrumentation, equipments. We have reached the moon. Not only moon, we are aiming at reaching the Mars. But have we reached your own psychic being within? Who exactly are you and what are you doing all this? Like, in an unknown terrain, you put your destination for Google Maps. Where are we driving our life to? What is our purpose? Are we living to earn or are we earning to live? What are we talking about growth and promotion? Only corporate friends? Only industrial friend? What about your own family friend? And the key to this, the first step in rewiring is to have a neurochemical balance in the brain. This neurochemical balance, if it is established, then that can 180-degree change the whole situation at employees level, at lower management, middle management, top management, and the whole company. So let's try to understand very basic outline I am giving you. I know that this is a non-medical platform. There are many types of chemicals in the brain. The dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin are the three chemicals, and the dynamic equilibrium between the three matters a lot. Dopamine is related to motivation, inspiration, achieving more and more. Noradrenaline is related to stress and, prepare yourself for fighting or flighting, running away if a very senior person is bossing you. Serotonin deals with peace, happiness, serenity. Prolactin and oxytocin deal with love and affection, and the balance between them is the key. Now, what can you and me do to maintain this balance, to optimize this particular balance? There are many factors. The first and the most important factor is diet. See, we should have enough high proteins in the diet which are supplied by eggs, beans, milk. We should have enough vitamins. Carrot contains vitamin A, lemon has rich vitamin C, yogurt, tyrosine. Tyrosine in yogurt is extremely essential for manufacturing the serotonin, what we talked about, peace and happiness. Now the sources of tyrosine like milk, curd, yogurt, almonds, if we don't eat it, it's exactly like challenges faced by procurement managers. There is no tyrosine and you are demanding a huge manufacturing of serotonin. The brain fails. And then in an attempt to overreach, the disease process begins because the reparative processes fail. So this point is also very important. Now, does it really only mean having enough procurement of raw material? Surely not. There are many more things important. Like you have assembly lines, specific sequence is essential. Specific process is to be done at specific time. Similarly, the divine has made such a beautiful arrangement that when we see a food item, a burger say, as is shown, the brain gets signals that now the food is coming. So specific instructions are given for digestion in the mouth by saliva, digestive juices are sequentially released and so on. Now what happens if you don't have your focused attention to what you are eating? Eating while, board meetings and other things. Let us accept that it is unavoidable sometimes when you are stressed up. But what happens when you are doing breakfast at home? Is economic times in front of you? Are you looking at the screen and market fluctuations? Doesn't make sense. You eat when it's a time to eat because that entirely different affects the neurochemical balance in your brain. Similarly, it's not only about focusing on the food. You also should not allow any bad thoughts. Bad meaning hatred, jealousy, all these thoughts. It's a very big topic if I start explaining how those emotions are related to the food and what influence does it have. But a good state of mind is very essential for appropriate assimilation of food which you eat. That's why we always say yatho annam tatho manaha. Like you eat, like are your thoughts. Timing of food is extremely essential. The source, if it is homemade, makes a huge difference than outside food. The content, the quantity, you should always eat only 80% of your appetite and so on. A lot to be talked about. Those of you who want to know more, I would recommend these two books. The Second Brain, The Gut is a Second Brain, by Michael Gershon, a very detailed book. Another thing beautifully describing the mind-gut connection is by Emanuel Mayer. Both these books talk a lot about this. Another big area which I would like to touch upon as far as the neuronal health is concerned is the need for exercise. Again, exercise is key in tryptophan oxidation, and tryptophan is extremely essential for manufacturing of various chemicals in the brain. It deals with blood circulation, it deals with oxygenation, it has got anti-aging effect and so on. Again now, how much exercise to do, what type of exercise is best, it's a 1 hour topic, exercise and brain. But to summarize in 1 or 2 lines, I would just say that it should be a good blend of isometric exercises. Iso is same, metros is length. Isometric exercise is the exercise where the length of the muscle is same. It doesn't change, pushing against the wall. Yoga is a good example of this type of exercise. The another group is isotonic, where the length changes, but the tone remains the same. For example, jogging, weightlifting, and all those kinds of exercises. So good blend of these two is extremely essential. Brain has 2 symmetrical hemispheres, the right and the left. The left half of brain deals with intellectual activities, decision making, managerial skills, and so on. And the right half deals with emotions, caring, creativity. And large number of mental diseases are now proven to be because of the dichotomy between the functioning of left and the right hemisphere. A so-called successful manager who is heading an organization, if it doesn't use his right hemisphere, then a cascade of events follow. So always you should have some kind of a creativity, you should write something every single day, you should be in touch with nature, you should give importance to music, have some hobby, play some game and so on. Because finally this balance has to be achieved between the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. When we talk about balance, it is not only about the 2 hemispheres, it's the balance between hundreds or thousands of organelles within the nerve cell. Like you have huge number of employees in the industry which are governed by one manager. Similarly, a cell nucleus deals with governing the entire machinery within the nerve cell. And like the music director or the conductor of an orchestra, the concert master, if he is able to maintain the harmony and synchrony, then only the output will be a beautiful melody. Otherwise, what will happen is the output will not be optimum. In other words, it will be disharmonic. And our body has 37 trillion cells of 200 various types. Not only this much, there are 40 trillion microbes staying in your gut, in your mouth, and so many things. So these lakhs and lakhs and lakhs of living cells, who is going to maintain the harmony? And if there is no harmony in the workers in any industry, what is going to happen? The same thing happens in the body, and what we label it as disease. Now, let me highlight the transition between the approach to treatment in the field of medicine. Earlier, the approach was, conventional allopathic medicine, which this is supposed to be the Bible, Harrison's medicine, which is called as the physical medicine. You have fever, I'll give you a tablet. Your fever goes down. Then evolved mind-body medicine. The concept came up that unhealthy mind is the root cause of all illnesses. Professor Bernie Siegel has done huge amount of research on that, and he has written this beautiful book, Love, Medicine and Miracle, worth reading. Further down the line, the current concept is transpersonal medicine, which means body, mind and spirit. Everything is attributed. And the latest approach is a 360-degree unified integral medicine for, complete cure and re-establishing your real health. See, when you're born healthy, why the disease process occurs? I mean, just imagine that the same divine machinery has given bodies to our ancient Indian famous heroes. In Mahabharata war, what was the age of Arjuna? 142. What was the age of Bhishmacharya? 162. So these people were fighting war at that age. And where are our young managers? What has happened to their efficiency? The same body, the same machinery, the same assembly. Something is wrong, and that we ourselves are responsible. Now, let's see what has been given to us and what best can we do about it. In this modern digital world, brain is just like a hardware. Mind is a software. So, if the software is corrupt, there is no use whatever hardware you have. There are n number of viruses around, ignorance, greed, attachment to material objects, jealousy, revengefulness, dying competition, everybody wants to be one above the other. Is it really essential? Do we have any antiviral program? Do we have a firewall protection? Yes, we do have. There are many things which are designed in the brain for maintaining pure mind. It is we keep contaminating those kind of things. We have such a complex machinery, as we said, of trillions of cells functioning there. Do we have a user manual of this complex machine to run? Yes. Our ancient scriptures have detailed protocols designed, but unfortunately we don't have time to get into the study of our ancient scriptures. We are, dying to follow the West, forgetting our own ancient Indian wisdom. Our scriptures narrate us what are the essential things in lifestyle for maintaining the brain health. And these are the core areas, It is said that you are the master of your own destiny. You define and design and execute your lifestyle with 100% mindfulness. When you exercise, where is your attention? If you keep shouting, talking to somebody, that exercise, all the neurochemicals in the brain are damaging. You should be absolutely peaceful when you are doing exercise. You should look around the greenery. You should enjoy the fog around. You should listen to the music of the birds. You should connect yourself to your own muscles which are contracting. There has to be dynamic equilibrium between your own body and your own self. If you don't do this, if you keep contaminating your thoughts, then naturally the negativity keeps growing. Earlier, people used to meet each other. Laughing, smiling used to be the norm. Now, unfortunately, we need to form laughing clubs to artificially laugh. But if you fail to laugh naturally, at least join some laughing club and laugh. It has got huge number of advantages. What are the advantages? It maintains the electric as well as chemical balance in the brain. See, finally, the chemical balance leads to electric balance because the execution is through electric currents. When I lift up my hand, an electric impulse starts from the brain through the spinal cord, it reaches the muscles and they contract. So this electric balance on the brain is disrupted if you don't have a proper lifestyle. This electric balance can be, charted out, like we have cardiogram of the heart. There is electroencephalogram of the brain. And we have alpha, beta, gamma, theta, delta waves. Alpha waves are the healthy waves. So anytime if you have very poor number of alpha waves and more beta waves which are seen with stress managers, then your brain is on the verge of, crashing. It has been proven scientifically that when you go to temple, you do puja, you surrender yourself, entire brain is full of alpha waves. Again, what has been taught in our own, upbringing, how we are forgetting it. Many examples can be given, but with time constraint, let's switch over to maintaining the energy balance in the brain. Energy balance in the brain essentially depends on the total energy of the body. Our body has got 7 energy centers which are connected to each other. They are called as chakras. And these chakras, Chakra Vigyan is a very specially designed science. And you need to keep reaccumulating the charges, like your mobile phone. However, best phone we have, at some time or the other, we need to connect it to a charger and charge it, isn't it? So when are we going to charge our own body? How often do we charge our own body? We keep using those energies, we keep spending those energies, we keep dissipating those energies without charging. How much period of time the machinery is going to suffer? The real roadmap for charging is yoga. Yoga essentially demands a certain principle in lifestyle called yama and niyama. Yama is what you should fundamentally do while your social interactions are going on. Ethical disciplines, non-violence, truthfulness, non-stealing, continence, and non-possessiveness. Niyama is something which you do to your own self, irrespective of the society. That is purity, contentment, self-discipline, self-study, and surrender to higher self. See, it is very essential to know this because people are under a seriously wrong impression that yoga meaning you join a yoga class and 15 days you are done with all yogasana. That is not yoga. Yoga is essentially Ashtanga yoga. It involves 8 facets. And the first 4, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, are just foundations. Like you cannot do MBA or reach the top management unless you have gone through a ladder. So Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama are foundations, and the real yoga begins from Pratyahara onwards. Yoga is for training your brain, and physical fitness is the foundation for training your brain. That's why these first 4 steps, and the real yoga for brain begins from pratyahara. Pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, and then samadhi. Look at the scientific evidence. It has been shown that there is limbic deactivation with stability of all the electric circuits and necessary rewiring if you do meditation for some period of time. Chanting Omkar is also having tremendous benefits. I can, go on talking on Omkara for, hours together. There are various ways in which you can chant Omkara, There is Pluth Omkar, like Om. There is Nyuk Omkar, Om, 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 Om. Different effects on different organs. There is something called as Upanshu Omkar. I don't open my lips. Omkara is going on and only my vocal cords vibrate. And then there is emotional Omkara. Even vocal cords don't, vibrate. And I'm into Om chanting. So there is lot of modern scientific research. What I want to underline on this platform is that this is not just, scriptures and all, mythology and all. This is beyond science. This is more than science. And after having interacted on one of the world's best scientific platforms, I'm underlining these facts for you. This is another publication in the International Journal of Yoga. What effects yoga have on serotonin dopamine balance, which we just spoke about. What effects does it have on charging your energy? What effects does it have on building up your immune system and the holistic body, mind and spiritual health? Mind health, very important. What is meant by mind health? Where does mind exist? Does it exist in the brain or it exists elsewhere? And what is the benefit of having a controlled mind? In Bhagavad Gita, this keynote is given for mind management. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. Arjuna is asking the question that my mind is so turbulent, strong and obstinate. How do I tame my mind? What do I do? And the whole Bhagavad Gita follows. It's a user manual for your mind control. Again, a topic for, couple of hours. So those of you who want to indulge into it can go into the great details. There is a famous story about mind that, mind always try to jump over things which it doesn't, intend to. One Rishi is addressing his students that now in next 15 minutes, they are sitting in a forest. In next 15 minutes, I am going to tell you something. There are a lot of monkeys all around which are going to make noise, but you don't get distracted by their noise. You just listen to what I am teaching you. And after 15 minutes of discussion, everybody's mind was full of what the monkeys did. Because the mind was engaged in, dissuading a part of mind to be not listening to what the monkeys are doing. So this is the catch in mind management, that mind is always focused on something which you don't want. Therefore, Amrut Bindu Upanishad, which is supposed to be the Bible of mind management, says that Manayava Manushyanam Karanam Bandha Mokshayat. If you want real renunciation and control, then you learn to manage your mind and fill your mind with pure thoughts. See, everybody's mind, it is always said in neuropsychology that we have two wolves sitting in you. One is good, one is bad. And that all of us experience. The key is to suppress the bad wolf and to encourage the good one, for an effective outcome. Now, how to do it? Again, Bhagavad Gita has many examples. Because keep aside Arjuna, even Duryodhana once asked questions that I want to do something, but there is something which is in my mind which forces me to do wrong things. Killing instinct, to be successful by, harming anybody else. I don't want to do it. But what happens in me? So he questions Shri Krishna, Janami dharmam. Dharmam means how to behave. I know. But nacha me pravrutti. I don't tend to follow that. Janami adharmam. I know what is bad. But I always nacha me nivrutti. I cannot withdraw from that. What is the key? Then Krishna answers the whole, the gist of Bhagavad Gita, that what is the importance of behaving that way. In Ishavasya Upanishad, there are many shlokas which tells you stepwise what is the real remedy for that. And Agni, which is in everybody's body, has all the powers to, purify your mind. Agni burns, fire burns if you touch the fires. It is called Dahak Agni. But there is something called as Pavak Agni also, who burns the bad within you. That's why Agni is worshipped in Yajna. But unfortunately, the topmost person in the world who has done lots of work on Agni related to ancient Indian scripture, friends, is unfortunately not an Indian, but he is Professor David Frawley from US. And he has been given the Upadhi of Vamadev Rishi, because Vamadev Rishi has given all the details in scripture about Agni. And he is one of the only non-Indian who has been given Padma Shri. Another very interesting scripture is Kashmiri Shaivism, where Shiva teaches Parvati about what is the way out. Everybody wants to have, growth, promotion on all fronts. The world is not good. We feel that he behaved wrongly to me, so I must give back. So if the world is not good around you, middle management feel that my boss is not good. Always they feel. So what is the way out? How can you change the world around you? Shiva, in 77 Shiva Suktas, in detail, step by step says that you should not attempt to change the world. You should change your outlook to look at the same world. The world remains the same, but you change yourself and you really start feeling the world in a very, very positive manner. The world comes back. See, this is not a very theoretical statement which I am doing. Many people in the orthodox conventional management schools teach that don't think about what other person says. But don't think means what? That person is harming you. How do you respond? How do you look at the world? And how exactly you should change the vision? See, as your knowledge increases, your way to perceive the same things in the world would change. For example, when you look at the rising sun, a child feels that the sun is rising on the east and sets on the west. As he progresses his education, he realizes that the sun doesn't move. The earth moves, sun is stationary. When he further grows, he realizes that neither the sun nor the moon is moving, or both are moving. Nothing is, stationary. As he evolves, he starts realizing that the whole cosmos is moving and everything is in rotation. So the sunrise remains the same, the sunset remains the same. Your vision to look at the same world changes, giving you a very deep and detailed perception. And it is this perception which leads to the neurochemical balance and increase the concentrations of happy hormones in your brain. Now, like I gave you an example of a mobile phone, you keep discharging your energies without charging. So where do you keep discharging these happy hormones and where do you need to keep charging these happy hormones? Relationships take a big toll on your mind and your interactions. But always remember, perfect relationships is not that you can never get angry or upset or irritated with somebody. It is how fast you resolve and bounce back. You should not allow your chemistry or allow your electrophysiology of the brain to get disturbed for a long period of time. The key thing is to understand the other person's point of view in any relationship. The top management has got huge expectations. The lower management has got lots of limitations. And the expectation-reality mismatch is the key for many, many things. A small story, it's a warship story. Warship is sailing through Pacific Ocean and suddenly it sees a light coming in the direction of the ship. So a signal is sent that you please move ahead. You are in my way, so please move ahead, change your direction. The reply comes, you please change your direction. The person becomes very angry that I am such a strong warship. He again sends a message that, you better move aside, or I am a warship, I am having missiles, I will just blast you. Again the message comes, you please move aside. So finally it is reported to captain. The captain says, I am the captain of the ship and I will force you to, be non-existent. You better move aside. And the reply comes that I simply cannot move aside because I am the lighthouse on the shore. So many times the other person is not able to change, but you are trying to force him change. This is what brings about the disharmony in interpersonal relationship. This is another big study called Rosetto study. The Rosetto is an Italian-American community in Pennsylvania. The social connection as a community is the secret of longevity. This community has got a highest number of years they are living, longevity. They have least number of illnesses. They have great immunity. And the key thing is the strong relationship amongst each other. Many of you must be knowing about Ikigai and the Japanese way of dealing with it. That also is a big topic of discussion. One point which I would like to make again is relationships, once they are built up, they never die a natural death. They are murdered by ego, attitude and ignorance. See, many a times, we feel that he broke relations with me. It doesn't happen that way. Something has gone wrong in you as well as him. Like you need two hands to shake hand. Relationship also need both sides to, break the relationship. And the fundamental thing is we should learn to really love each other from the bottom of our heart. I have, many patients who have stories which make me feel sad. One elderly lady asked for a certificate, of, she was having Parkinson's. So I asked, why do you need a certificate? If you're working in some company, you need a certificate. She said, my own son and daughter-in-law doesn't believe in me having some disease. So when I break saucers or something, they question me that you are pretending. So sad is the reality in family relationship. Keep aside corporate relationships and competition. And where are we heading to? There are many, many examples which can be given. And that's why understanding each other, developing strength, emotional health is the key. Even in the field of law, now ADR, alternate dispute resolution, is gaining more and more popularity because adjudication would make one person happy, the other person is unhappy. So if you try to understand each other, then both the persons can be made happy, and even the strain and stresses on the judiciary also can be, avoided. The bottom line is managing your ego. And the fundamental thing one should ask is, why should I have ego? Where have I come here? Somebody gave me birth. My name, somebody has given me. My education, my teacher taught me. My employment, profession, I exist because of somebody sitting up. My name, fame, recognition is all somebody else is giving me. Then who will finally, recognize all this? Whether the me within me is happy or not. And why am I running behind? What am I running behind? One important, very important aspect is running behind money. Money is surely essential. Money is surely important. Bhartruhari's Niti Shatakam says that poverty is worse than death. In Marathi it is called Jalo Jeene Lajirvani. Means it is shameful to live in poverty. You must be rich. You must earn money. But then the key is you should not keep only giving all your resources for making money. There is a difference between the two. Because all the material objects, material gains, including money, have these three limitations. Obtaining, maintaining, and fear to lose, and right investment takes away a big toll which you cannot match, that leads to sorrow. Whatever you have, there is an endless demand, never satisfying, atruptikatvam. And the third is you become dependent on that. It is very addictive, the so-called material wealth and prosperity. And you keep craving for it. The famous great king Alexander the Great had said that let my hands be out of the coffin to let the world know that Alexander could not, take anything away with him. There is a famous story in scriptures that there is a big, rich, multimillionaire person who is, into his last stages of life, and he has no sons or daughters. So he calls his board and asks, now, I have to prepare to go to heaven. So please suggest me some way to take my wealth higher up. So everybody laughs and nobody can answer this question. So he feels that his board is not able to answer. So he organizes a big meeting of all his employees and asks this question, I would reward you if you can answer. One person comes forward. He says, sir, you keep traveling abroad every now and then. What is the first thing you do? The first thing you do is you convert your rupees into either euros or dollars, because your rupees have no value there. If you are traveling to Europe, you must have euros. If you are traveling to US, you must have dollars. Similarly, this currency, if you want to convert for using in the heaven, then you better convert this currency into good deeds. Help somebody. Let the society be benefited, and that will be registered, and that would really help you in heaven. And see, basically we always keep thinking that we'll do later, but death, knocks on the door in a very, very unlimited way. I know many, many examples of sudden cardiac death. The person left behind so much, but never prepared for his death. As Benjamin Franklin says, that this world, only two certain things are death and taxes. We have limited time, but how to prepare for your own death? So you prepare for your illness, health insurance, accident insurance, you prepare for everything. You prepare for your next 7 generations, what my kids would do. But what about preparation for the most certain things in life, that is death? And here we have a user manual for, preparation for death, Kathopanishad. We won't go into the details because only 3-4 minutes are remaining. But our own Indian approach is accepted to be the most acceptable, approach to follow all over the world. Professor Louis Marinoff was the president of International Philosophy Society, and he says that Indian philosophy is the best philosophy. This is Maslow's pyramid, which many of us would be knowing. Maslow says that initially you satisfy your needs, then you prepare for your future, then you want name, fame, social recognition, and then you move to self-actualization. What does Indian philosophy teach us? Indian philosophy teaches us to follow dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma comes first. Ethics, morals, values come first. But unfortunately, we have forgotten our own ancient Indian wisdom, and we are trying to blindly follow the Westerners, and we talk about growth, promotion of business at any cost, because of a very serious wrong notion that, if I be very honest, very ethical, very moral, I'll be finished. This is a wrong notion. In Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham, means I will be backing you, and I will see that you would prosper if you follow certain fundamental principles. I was in Korea for one of the meetings, and there I saw such kind of Korean culture being displayed in all the hotels at breakfast. Are we so proud of our own culture? Are we finding the need for inner growth? We always talking about, running, analyzing things, planning, execution, do this, do that, grow yourself. But all that is external growth. All that is external success. And what about inner success? If the inner success, your happiness doesn't exist, then what is the use of all this? Another beautiful, lovely Upanishad called Taittiriya Upanishad talks about levels of joy. When you are in business, you achieve the target, you overshoot the target, you would have joy. But there are many levels of joy. And the last joy is to be joyful from within. And I would finish in next 2 to 3 minutes because already 44 minutes are done. So I would touch upon something called as gratitude meditation. Always look at the half empty glass or half full glass. The choice is yours. And friends, many of you, I always feel on non-medical platforms that, you should be visiting our ICUs. Patients are unconscious, they are on ventilator with Ryle's tube for feeding, with urinary catheters and all. You and me can any time be on that bed. If you realize this, then you start recognizing the value of a fit body. How best can I make use of my body? And is only corporate growth is the goal of this body, or there is something else? You need to look within. There are so many types of diseases which are worse than death. Paralysis. One cannot die also. People feel that let me die instead of this everyday suffering. So God has kept our body fit, our mind fit. Is it not essential to do some maintenance like we do maintenance of various machines in our body? This thought has to be deeply, seeded. And this can only be possible if you start spending some time alone in solitude. Because if you are not able to sit in solitude, then it is said that you are in bad company. Your own self needs to be brushed up. Your own self needs to be rewired. Before I end, this is a beautiful book. How many of you have read this? Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. I'll just in few lines tell the summary. Bronnie Ware was an Australian nursing head who was chief of a rehabilitation center for affluent people. some had cancer, some had paralysis and so on. During the rehabilitation, she asked same set of questions to everybody, that if God promises you to give one more life, and ask how you would like to live the next life, what limitations you faced and what you don't want in next life, what you missed. Then thousands of people gave her thousands of answers, but to the best of her surprise, Broniware found 5 answers very common to all. Nobody talked about business growth promotion, though it is essential. Many felt that they couldn't spend enough quality time with their family and friends, so in next life they would like to spend more time with their family. Worried too much about others, spent a lot of energy, not following my own hobbies. Many times, many people felt that they spoiled the relationship which otherwise could have, grown, and they are extremely sad for that. So always remember, family is the treasure. Don't, compromise it for anything else. And the value of this is perceived when you read this book. It's the last lecture, and I would sum up after this slide. Professor Randy Pauch was a professor at Carnegie Mellon University, and there is a tradition in Carnegie Mellon that after retirement, the person is called in the central auditorium to give his last lecture to all faculties, pharmacy, engineering, medicine, all faculty, because this lecture essentially highlights not a particular specialty, but it highlights about life skills. And Randy Pauch, at a very young age, was diagnosed to have a liver cancer, which spreaded all over the body with very few months life expectancy. And he was invited to give a last lecture. In the history of Carnegie Mellon, he is the youngest professor to give his last lecture at such a young age. He says that I have very little experience compared to very senior professors, but I am going to share only my experiences of last few months after my cancer was diagnosed. And his last lecture was supposed to be the best last lecture, giving lessons about life management in the history of Carnegie Mellon. So once the death is certain, once a person realizes he is facing cancer, then his life changes. But then don't we need to change ourselves? Another beautiful book, Atomic Habits. Many people feel that I have come a long way now, how can I change? But there is never too late. You have to change every single day a little bit, and 1% every day can certainly make you 37 times better in a particular year. And so I think, friends, the message for this would be a simple statement by Albert Einstein: try to become a man of success. Be more importance to values, ethics than any other things. And this not only Albert Einstein, but is the message of Bhagavad Gita. The chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita talks about divine attributes and demonic attributes. Divine attributes like truthfulness, purity, sacrifices, loving everybody, altruism are the factors which maintain the neurochemistry. These are the factors which maintain the electric stability on the brain. And if your brain is rewired, if your brain health is maintained, your efficiency on all walks of life increases, making you really successful on the front of organization, growth, external as well as internal, build up relationship with your peers, colleagues, social platforms, family, friends and everything. And to me, that is the real success. And don't drift away from our own rich cultural heritage. I would end my talk by, remembering the famous lines of Raj Kapoor. होठों पे सच्चाई रहती है, जहां दिल में सफाई रहती है, हम उस देश के वासी है जिस देश में गंगा बहती है. Friends, Ganga is a symbol of purity and divinity, and if we keep following it, then our brain would be much more healthier than what it is today. I thank you for the opportunity to interact with you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh my God. Well, thank you very much, doctor. Needs nothing short of a standing ovation, ladies and gentlemen. Please, what an amazing opening for the day. Doctor, you made a reference to the last lecture, but I think this first lecture will never go out of our minds.
That would be the real fulfillment for me.
In a very magical way, doctor had, I don't know how you entered our mind, and you were understanding, you had so much of an understanding of the supply chain and procurement processes that was saying. He did mention that our mind is constantly looking at, things which we don't want to focus on. But I can assure you during this last 1 hour, we were not defocused anywhere. 100% of the concentration was here. Third eye chakra and heart chakra were doing their job constantly. That was working very well, and I think all this has directly gone into our permanent memory. And I think we have all created a strong bond, not only with doctor, but with our own self, with our own health and our own future. Doctor, absolutely amazing. Hats off to you. Thank you so much. May I request my colleague, Mr. Ganesh Apte, to please come and present a memento to Dr. Mahesh Karandikar. Ladies and gentlemen, his introduction which I have given is only as small as the understanding that we have about brain. Doctor is associated with very many other initiatives which are also being taken up at government level in terms of improving the health and wellness of India. But still he has been able to find so much of time for all of us.